Bro, what? I didn't hear the guy upstairs at all. No, like zero. I heard the guy in the bush. That's why I looked left. But the guy that came down the stairs and killed me, I didn't. There's zero audio. What was that? No audio from the stairs? Yeah, like what? Did I just turn it off? Do I turn this off? Now that performance for binaural audio has been improved, how much FPS does it cost and is it worth it to run? Are there any issues with it? Those are the things we're covering today. Starting with performance. I have a fairly mid-range PC, a Ryzen 5600, 32 gigs of DDR4 at 3600 CL16, and an RTX 3070. I average about a 5% performance hit on streaks. Currently, as the hardest to run map, I'm getting a nice 74.7 FPS for averages, and for 1% I'm getting 46.3 with binaural off. With binaural on, I'm getting 68.3 average and 41.71%. For better performing maps, I only benched customs. I'm getting 101.2 average and 67.71% with binaural off. And with it on, I'm getting 97.1 average and 50.21%. So for both instances, it's about a 5% performance hit. If you have a mid-range PC like I do and you don't mind a 5% hit, do turn it on. It actually helps a lot when it comes to player positioning. If you're wondering what my testing methodology was, check out this video, linked down below. I'm running the same streets route, and for customs, I just ran in circles doing my setup quest. Now for low-end PCs, most of the parts from that video I already sold. So unfortunately, I have nothing to bench. So if you think the performance set on your PC is too much, just don't use it. On to our next topic, elevation audio and volume. With binaural on, you should be able to tell player position whether it's above or below you a lot better. Let's do a test comparison. Here I'm first floor listening to second floor binaural off. Here it is binaural on. Here's first floor listening to third floor binaural off. And now third floor on. And for people below you, here's second floor listening to first floor binaural off. Binaural on. And now here's third floor listening to first floor binaural off. And now on. Can you hear that? Binaural on allows you to more accurately pinpoint where sounds are coming from, because there's a wider dynamic range. When things are further away, they're much quieter, making it a lot easier to tell where a certain sound is coming from. Let's hear outdoor audio. Binaural off. And now binaural on. I'm sure you can agree with me, there isn't too much of a difference in terms of dynamic range for these two, but I have noticed it's much easier to tell front and back with binaural on. But here's what I didn't tell you. For all my previous clips, the volume is cranked all the way up. I'm giving you a volume warning and 3 seconds to turn down the volume if you have headphones on. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Here's what it sounds like when I run. And here's how loud it is when I shoot. Okay, you can turn your volume back up now. There's no possible way you can play the game at this volume without suffering hearing damage. And for all of these clips, I'm wearing the Contact 4s, which compresses gunfire the best. If I was wearing GSS-H's, you would have gone deaf. Let me redo the test with volume turned down to a safe range so you can experience what you'll actually hear in game. Here's first floor listening to second floor binaural off. Here it is binaural on. Here's first floor listening to third binaural off. Here it is on. And for people below you, here's second listening to first binaural off. And now on. Third listening to first binaural off. And now on. Here's the shooting test so you can get a good comparison. This is why, if you've noticed during my last stream, I kept complaining I couldn't hear shit with binaural on. Because to hear elevated footsteps that isn't literally on top of you, your volume must be cranked up. The only ways for you to have binaural on and actually make use of its advantages is either cranking your volume all the way up so you go deaf in your 30s, or run a third-party app like SoundLock or Equalizer APO to compress your peaks. You could pay to win and buy an audio compressor, but I'm no sound engineer, I just know these things exist. If you need help installing SoundLock or picking an audio compressor or whatever other tech problem, I do have a tech help channel in my Discord down below. Moving on. The volume disparity during Steam Audio was never this massive. There were plenty of threads complaining about dynamic range prior to Oculus Audio. But with Oculus Audio, this issue is even worse. Of course, you're responsible for your own hearing. So instead of cranking up your volume and trying to listen to everything, you should just turn your volume down. However, this doesn't detract all responsibility from BSG. BSG is trying to have a realistic dynamic range, where if everything is quiet around you, you can make out sounds from a source really far away. But when you shoot a gun, it's near deafening. This works in real life because we do not have a volume slider. In this video game, personally, these numbers may not be accurate for everybody, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass as an example. 60% of my time is spent walking around during stamina regen or looting, 35% is spent sprinting around, and probably only 5% is spent fighting and firing. So if you're just chilling in a raid and you're not firing your gun, the game feels and sounds really quiet. So you're more inclined to crank up your volume. But when you actually have to fight and you start firing your gun, it's then you realize your volume was too high. But unfortunately, the damage has already been done. This problem is exacerbated when running different active headsets in-game, as all of these have different ambient volumes, which leads to further playing of your volume slider. Veterans of the game will understand that you should just set your volume at a comfortable gun firing level and leave everything else alone. But newer players coming to Tarkov from other video games with a more normal video game-ish dynamic range rather than real life dynamic range might not even realize that this is an issue. The responsibility for this massive volume gap lies on the shoulders of BSG. I know Oculus Audio isn't final, so I really hope Nikita will do some tweaking. To summarize, binaural on if you have a mid-range PC, off if your FPS is an issue, binaural on if you care about how far away an object is, and binaural off if you want to hear literally everything, and you have the game sense to not need their exact locations. Thanks for watching, I hope this video helped. Nikita, I doubt you're watching this, but if you are, please compress the dynamic range of your game. I know you're a musician. You should know the importance of hearing. Like the video if you liked it, sub with bell, my socials are here, see you in a bit.